Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be different from my usual content. I'm not exploring an abandoned building or testing some internet ritual. Instead, I'm going to tell you about something that happened to me last month while researching cold cases in my hometown of Millbrook, a story so disturbing that I've barely slept since uncovering it. This isn't clickbait. This isn't fiction. What I'm about to share with you comes directly from archived police reports, newspaper microfilm, and one particularly disturbing discovery I made in the basement of our town's historical society. So turn off your lights, put in your headphones, and whatever you do, if you're from Millbrook, you might want to stop watching now. Part 1. The basement. It started innocently enough. I've been wanting to do a video on local cold cases for months, and Millbrook seemed perfect. Small town, population 8,000, the kind of place where everyone knows everyone. Or at least, they think they do. I contacted Martha Henley, the 73-year-old woman who runs our historical society. She was thrilled that a young person was interested in local history. She gave me access to the archives, 3 rooms in the basement of the old Carnegie Library building, filled with boxes of newspapers, police records, and town documents dating back to 1887. The basement smelled like mildew and old paper. The fluorescent lights hummed and flickered. Martha showed me where the police records were kept and left me alone, saying she had to close up at 5 p.m. sharp. I started with the obvious cases. The 1952 disappearance of Tommy Wardell, age 7, who vanished while walking home from school. The 1978 murder of Janet Cosgrave, found strangled in her apartment with no signs of forced entry. The 1995 case of the Brennan family, all 4 of them, who disappeared overnight, leaving behind a half-eaten dinner and their car still in the driveway. But it was the 4th box I opened that changed everything. Part 2. The photographs. Inside were photographs. Crime scene photographs from 1963. The case file was thin, surprisingly thin for what the photos depicted. A young woman, maybe 25 years old, found in the woods off Highway 17. The official cause of death was listed as accidental drowning, but the photos told a different story. Her body was positioned in a way that didn't make sense. Arms crossed over her chest, legs straight, lying on dry ground 50 feet from the nearest water. And her face, God, her face, wore an expression I've never seen on a human being before. Not fear, not pain, something else entirely. Something wrong. The victim's name was Elizabeth Marsh. The file contained only 3 documents: the death certificate, a brief police report, and a single witness statement from a local hunter who found the body. But here's what made my skin crawl. Paperclipped to the inside of the folder was a yellow sticky note. The handwriting was shaky, like it had been written by someone elderly or frightened. It read, "Check the others. Same position, same face. Why is no one investigating this?" The note wasn't signed. It wasn't dated. Part 3. The pattern. I spent the next 3 hours going through every box in that basement. I found her. Another woman, 1971. Rebecca Howell. Found in a different part of the woods. Official cause of death, accidental fall. But in the photograph, she was lying on flat ground, arms crossed, legs straight. That same impossible expression on her face. Then another. 1982, Denise Kilpatrick. Cause of death unknown. Same position, same expression. Another. 1991, Sarah Chen. Heart attack. Same position, same expression. Another. 2001, Michelle Strauss. Animal attack. But there were no wounds on her body in the photos. Same position, same expression. And finally, this one made me drop the folder, 2011. Jessica Rourke. I knew Jessica. Well, I knew of her. She'd been 4 years ahead of me in high school. I remembered when she disappeared. The town searched for weeks. When they found her body, everyone accepted the police explanation. She'd gotten lost hiking and died of exposure. But in the photograph, there she was. Arms crossed, legs straight. That expression. 6 women, 6 different decades. All found in the woods around Millbrook. All with official causes of death that didn't match what the photos showed. All positioned identically. All with that same look on their faces, like they'd seen something that human beings aren't supposed to see. The fluorescent lights flickered again. I checked my phone. 4:47 p.m. That's when I noticed the map. Part 4. The locations. Tucked into the back of the last folder was a hand-drawn map of Millbrook and the surrounding forest. Someone had marked 6 locations with red X's. Next to each X was a year: 1963, 1971, 1982, 1991, 2001, 2011. The locations formed a pattern. Not random. Deliberate. I pulled out my phone and overlaid the points on Google Maps. They formed a perfect hexagon around something in the center of the forest. I zoomed in on the center point. There was nothing there. No building, no landmark, just trees. But according to the historical maps in the archive, there had been something there once. The original Millbrook Chapel, built in 1891, abandoned in 1922, burned down in 1935. I checked the dates again. 1963, 1971, 1982, 1991, 2001, 2011. Every 9 years. Almost exactly 9 years apart. I looked at my phone again. The current date, October 14th, 2024. 9 years after 2011 would be 2020. That would have been during COVID, during the lockdowns. Had I missed something? Had there been another disappearance I didn't know about? My hands were shaking as I searched through the boxes for 2020 cases. Nothing. No missing women. No mysterious deaths in the woods. Unless whoever was supposed to be victim number 7 had been spared because of the pandemic. Because people weren't going into the woods. Because something had been interrupted, which meant the pattern was broken or delayed. Part 5. The Witness. I photographed everything. Every file, every photo, every document. I was shoving the folders back into boxes when I heard footsteps on the stairs. 5 o'clock, dear, Martha called down. Time to wrap up. I grabbed my backpack and headed for the stairs. Martha was waiting at the top, keys in hand, ready to lock up. But she looked at me strangely. Did you find what you were looking for? She asked. I found something, I said. Martha, do you know anything about women disappearing in the woods? Every 9 years. Her face went white. Actually white, like all the blood drained out of it at once. Where did you hear about that? Her voice was barely a whisper. The archives. There are cases going back to 1963. 6 women, all found dead in the same way, all. Stop. She grabbed my arm. Her grip was surprisingly strong. You need to stop her searching this. Right now. Why? What's going on? Someone needs to investigate. They did investigate. Martha's eyes were wide, terrified. In 1982, after the 3rd death, a state police detective came to Millbrook. He went into the woods to examine the sites. He was found 3 days later. Same position, same expression. They ruled it a heart attack and closed the investigation. But why? What's out there? Martha pulled me away from the basement door and lowered her voice even further. My grandmother lived here her whole life. She told me stories about the old chapel, about what the town's founders did there, about what they brought with them from the old country. She said some doors should stay closed, some bargains should never be broken. What kind of bargains? The kind where a town prospers for generations in exchange for a tithe. Every 9 years, a woman goes into the woods. They never found out who was taking them, but they always found the bodies. That's insane. You're talking about I'm talking about survival, Martha hissed. This town has never had a drought, never had a crop failure, never had a major crime. Do you know what the unemployment rate is here? 0. The high school graduation rate? 100%. When was the last time anyone got seriously sick? We live longer here. Prosper more. Don't you find that strange? I stepped back from her. You're saying the town knows about this? That everyone just accepts it? Not everyone knows the details, but everyone knows enough. We don't go into the woods alone. We don't ask questions, and we don't break the pattern. She released my arm. Your generation doesn't understand. You think you can investigate everything, expose everything. But some things are bigger than truth. There's nothing bigger than truth, I said. Martha's expression shifted to something like pity. Then God help you, child. Part 6, the woods. I should have listened to her. I know that now. But I was angry. Angry that 6 women had died and everyone had just accepted it. Angry that no one had investigated. Angry that an entire town was complicit in whatever this was. So the next morning, I grabbed my camera, my phone, and a backpack with supplies, and I drove out to the woods. The center point on the map was about 3 miles from the nearest road. I parked at the trailhead and started hiking. It was a clear October day, leaves crunching under my feet, birds singing. Beautiful. Normal. The deeper I went, the quieter it became. After about 45 minutes, I checked my GPS. I was close, maybe a quarter mile from the center point. That's when I noticed the trees. They were arranged in a circle. Not naturally, you could see where they'd been planted, evenly spaced, all the same species. Oak trees, ancient and massive, their branches creating a canopy that blocked out most of the sunlight. And in the center of the circle was a clearing. The ruins of the chapel were barely visible, just the foundation stones and part of one wall. But in the middle of the clearing was something else. A stone well, about 4 feet across, with symbols carved into the rim. Not English, not any language I recognized. I approached slowly, camera rolling. The well was deep. I couldn't see the bottom, but I could hear something, a sound like breathing, like something down there was alive. And that's when I smelled it. Rot. Decay. Like something had died down there a long time ago, but refused to stop existing. I should have run. Every instinct was screaming at me to run. Instead, I leaned over the edge with my phone flashlight and looked down. There were bones at the bottom, not 6 bodies worth. Dozens, maybe hundreds, scattered across what looked like worked stone, like the well went down into some kind of chamber. And carved into the stone wall, spiraling down into the darkness, were names. Hundreds of names, each with a date next to it. I saw Elizabeth Marsh, 1963. Rebecca Howell, 1971. All the way down to Jessica Rourke, 2011. But there were names before 1963. Going back and back. Some of the dates were from the 1800s. And at the very top of the visible names, freshly carved, recent enough that you could still see the dust from the chisel. Sarah Mitchell, 2024. That's my name. Part 7, The Truth. I stumbled backward, my heart hammering. I didn't know that name was there. I didn't carve it. Who had carved it? When? My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You should have listened to Martha. Another buzz. A photo. Me, in the woods, standing in front of the well. Taken from behind the trees. Someone was here with me. I spun around, camera still rolling. The woods were empty. Silent. Another text. The pattern must continue. 2020 was skipped. The debt is owed. You went looking. Now you've been found. I ran. I don't remember the hike back. I just remember branches tearing at my face, my lungs burning, my feet catching on roots. I remember the feeling that something was behind me. Not chasing me. Following me. Patient. When I got to my car, there was something on the windshield. A photograph. Old, faded. Dated 1963. It showed Elizabeth Marsh, but not dead in the woods. Alive. Standing in front of the Historical Society. Smiling. And standing next to her, arm around her shoulders, was Martha Henley. Except Martha looked exactly the same as she does now. Same age. Same face. The photo was dated 60 years ago. Part 8. The Present. I drove straight to the police station. Showed them everything. The files, the photos, the map, the text messages. The officer at the desk listened patiently. Then he smiled. Miss Mitchell, I appreciate your concern, but those old cases were all properly investigated and closed. As for your experience in the woods, stress and fear can make us see things that aren't there. I'd recommend talking to someone. We have a great therapist in town, Dr. Brennan. Brennan, like the family that disappeared in 1995. I have evidence, I said. Photos, documents. Which you accessed without proper authorization, he interrupted. Martha Henley has already filed a complaint about your trespassing in the archives and stealing documents. Now, we can overlook that if you return everything you took and stop spreading these stories around town. For your own good. I looked at him. Really looked at him. Healthy. Mid-40s, looked 30. Not a gray hair. Perfect teeth. How old was this town's police force? How long had they lived here? I left the station. Got in my car.